class, welcome to our YouTube channel. This is Alan Shane at your service. For today's video, we will discuss about the steps in a purchase requisition. So whenever a purchase or sale of merchandise occurs, the buyer and the seller should agree on the price of the merchandise. Diba? There is no sale or purchase if both the seller and the buyer will not agree the price. So, dapat, kailangan, the seller and the buyer should agree the price of the merchandise. Aside from the price, the payment terms and the party to shoulder the transportation cost. So, owners of small merchandising firms may settle these terms informally by phone or by discussion with the vendor's representative. Okay, so here are the steps in a purchase requisition. First is we have to fill in a purchase requisition form and sends it to purchasing department. So kapag meron items na needed, the user department, kung sino yung user, siya yung mag-fill up ng purchase requisition. And after nilang mag-fill up ng purchase requisition is, isi-send nila ito sa purchasing department. Then, next is after that, the purchasing department prepares a purchase order. So, kapag natanggap na ng purchasing department, so the purchasing prepares a purchase order after checking with what are the things that should be checked by the purchasing department. First is the price list. Second is the quotations, then catalogs of approved vendors. Then it should be addressed to the selected vendor. Then it indicates the quantity, description, price of merchandise ordered, expected payment terms, and the transportation arrangements. So now, here is an example of a purchase order. So ito yung example ng purchase order. There is a vendor, and then date, address, then the telephone number. We have the quantity, the unit, description, unit price, and the amount, and it should be approved by the authorized signature. So this is coming from the book of the Balyada, Win Balyada. The next is after purchasing department prepares a purchase order, so the seller forwards an invoice to the purchaser. So the invoice called a sales invoice on the part of the seller and a purchase invoice on the part of the buyer. So these two will define the terms of the transaction. So define the terms of the transaction. So here is an example of a sales invoice. So pasensya na kayo sa background na pusa. So here is an example of a sales invoice. We have to sold to, we have the date, then the address, then the terms, then we have the quantity, the unit, the description, the total unit price, and the amount. And it should have a customer's signature. Receive the above articles in good condition. So this is an example of a sales invoice. Then after that, the purchaser's receiving department prepares a receiving report. Then, so meron na siyang receiving report. Then number 5 is before approving the invoice for payment, the acquisition or the accounts payable department compares copies of the purchase acquisition. So the accounts payable department accounts payable department compares copies of the purchase requisition then the purchase order the receiving report and invoice. So to ensure that the quantities, descriptions, and prices agree. So all of the above forms, when the goods are received or when titles has passed, the entity should record purchases and a liability or a cash disbursement. So aside from that, diba, we already talked about the source documents. So we have here an example of the statement of account. So here is an example of the statement of account. Meron tayong the name of the business, the address, the TIN number, statement of account. Then we have the customer, the date, the address, account number, telephone number, due date, then the date, the invoice number, description, the amount, and the total amount due. So this is an example of a statement of account. So to know about the statement of account, so you have to watch my YouTube tutorial about the source documents. Then next is the official receipt. So ito ang example ng official receipt. We have W. Nays Traders, Mandaluyong City, TIN 143. Then official receipt, payments for invoice number, the amount, details of payment, whether cash ba, check, or credit card. Then we have the date, received from, then the sum in words and in figures, and in for or partial full payment, or then by the authorized signature. Then the next source document is the peso deposit slip. So ito yung example ng deposit slip natin. So ito is from the book of Win Balyada na example. So peso deposit slip. So yung pangalan ng bank. Then deposit slip, whether savings account or current account. So i-check mo lang dyan. Then the date, and we have to put the account number, then the account name, then the cash deposit, number of pieces, denominations, then the amount. Then if cheque, kailangan ilagay yung name of bank or branch, then the check number and the amount. Then here is the sample of a check. Account number, account name, check number, paid to the order of, then pesos, then the authorized signature. So that's it for the steps in a purchase requisition. So in the summary, and also example of our source documents. So in summary, first we have to fill in a purchase requisition form and send it to the purchasing department. Ang gagawa nito is ang user. Then, after that, the purchasing department prepares a purchase order. Then, we have to check the price list, quotations, catalogs of approved, then address to the selected vendor, the quantity, description, price of merchandise ordered, expected terms, transportation arrangements. Next is the seller forwards an invoice to the purchaser upon shipment. Then sales invoice, seller, purchase invoice, buyer. Then after that, purchasers receiving department prepares a receiving report and accounts payable department compares copies of the purchase requisition, purchase order, receiving report, and invoice para ma-ensure yung na mag-agree si both seller and the buyer. So that's it for our video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and share it to your loved ones. God bless.